TV 1061, conceptualizing your ideas across the world and beyond. TV 1061, conceptualizing your ideas across the world and beyond. TV 1061, conceptualizing your ideas across the world and beyond. TV 1061, conceptualizing your ideas across the world and beyond. TV 1061, conceptualizing your ideas across the world and beyond. TV 1061, conceptualizing your ideas across the world and beyond.
Hey, I'm not in right now. Sorry, leave me a message.
I just wanna love you. Meet me at the hotel room, or you can come over. So many things I wanna do to your body, driving me crazy. I just wanna love you. Meet me at the hotel room, or you can come over. So many things I wanna do to your body.
Hello and welcome to Bedroom Chronicles, and I'm Mercury Rising, and I'll be talking about my book, which is titled Men in My Bed, True Love is Hard to Find, Bedroom Chronicles. I have a guest that will be calling in shortly, Mr. Clarcell Harding, and he's going to be giving me his perception of the stories that he read in my book, and I think it's going to be very interesting. So the book starts off with chapters related to my childhood, growing up in rural South Carolina, and going in between visits to New York City and Brooklyn and back to Ridgeland, South Carolina. So I had a pretty interesting childhood. It was pretty good. My great-grandmother raised my sister and I. It was only two of us at the time. That was in like the early 60s. So we went fishing and crabbing and hunting in the graveyard, which was very, very interesting because it was just so much trees and animals. But it was nice. It was a good change for us coming from Brooklyn. So Men in My Bed talks about the tragic part of my childhood from the age of 5 until 12. Some of the traumatic experience is explained in detail. And some of it is very heartfelt. Some of it might bring you to tears, but I would really like for you to read it other than me telling you about it to spoil the story. We moved to Coosawhatchee in 1965, when the Indians were still living in their teepees by the post office, which I thought was very interesting since I've never really seen Indians like that before other than on a Western show on TV. My great-grandmother, she was a very interesting elderly woman. She was probably in her 50s when she was taking care of my sister and I. And she basically lived off the land. Because she has some Indian in her background, so she lived off the land. She hunt. She planted everything that she ate. Other than she raised all of her food, the pigs, the chicken. Other than when the chicken man came to the house, so the chicken back man came to the house one day out of the week. Candy man came to the house one day out of the week. The insurance man came to the house one day out, because everybody just come to the house during that time, even the doctor. So it was good that she taught us how to plant and vegetables and how to harvest the vegetables, and that planting was something else. Since I was the oldest and the tallest, I was allowed to drop the seed in the ground because it'll sprout up taller. My great-grandmom, everybody called her Lockie. She was the best. And you may not get that from the beginning of the story because of the traumatic things that happened to me as a child, but sometimes, I guess, people get so busy in life that they just miss things, or they just used to common things going on, or they just expect things to be a certain way. They don't think anything bad can come into play with, like it did with me between the ages of 5 and 12. My great-grandmother, she was the type of person that did everything herself. She was the type of person that put family first. She used to sit down and tell me these stories about her growing up, and she was born in 1902, so she got to see the Great Depression. She had one child in 1922, and that's the only child that she gave birth to. And she was married 3 times. So she was about, I found this to be funny, she was about 6'3", 6'4", and her husbands were like 5'5", or 3 of them. So I did get to meet one of my great-grandfathers, but they weren't together anymore, but I did get to meet one, which was pretty interesting. Because when I met him, it's like 1970, and he had on this brown, big leg pantsuit with the watch that hang off the side of the pants, and he had on the vest, and I was like, wow, this looked like something from 1940. But he was a very interesting man. So, but he didn't share any stories. So my great-grandmother, and I mentioned it in the book as well, she shared stories about working in the cotton field. That times when they didn't get paid with money, they got paid with stamps because the war was going on. Or times when she didn't have money to buy her shoes, so she would put a cardboard box in the bottom of her shoes so that her feet won't be on the wet ground while she was in the field picking cotton. So those are rich stories that I've taken with me from the time she told me up to now. They're very dear to my heart, her stories. My great-grandmother, she couldn't read, she couldn't write. She didn't go to school much at all because she was busy in the field. So you'll find a chapter in here that probably talks about them living in her mother's siblings, which was her mother's, my great-grandmother had 12 siblings. Each one of the siblings lived in a slave house. So they had 12 slave houses for the 12 siblings. And most of those family members are from Yamasee, Pocataligo, Coosawhatchee, all these are different areas of South Carolina. And out of all those 12 or 13 siblings, a lot of the names have definitely changed, especially for the women that got married and took on their husbands' names. Excuse me for a moment, that might be Mr. Harding. Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Clazel Harding. Call me CK if you like.
Hello.
And I'm calling to review the book.
All right, Mr.
Dr.
Harding.
Rose.
Thank you for calling in, Mr. Harding. And you read Men in My Bed by Mercury Rising. So,
Yeah.
can you tell me, what's your perception of that book?
Okay, first of all, I think it was a very good book. The book is very entertaining. Plus, there are a lot of lessons learned from the book.
Oh,
The author started off giving a background of herself and how she grew up, where she grew up, and how she grew up, and some of the particulars that took place when growing up, some particular situations that took place. So she got a combination of city life and a little southern life, a little down-home life also in South Carolina, and I think it was Brooklyn, New York. Am I correct?
you're correct.
And Brooklyn, New York. And the author was, are you the author?
Yes, I'm the author of Mercury's.
Just want to make sure. So I just want to make sure. And it seems as if you were born in Brooklyn, New York. Am I correct?
You're correct.
Born in Brooklyn, New York, but got a wealth of experience in South Carolina.
Right.
Some experiences that were good and some experiences that were not so good.
True.
That were not so good.
True.
In fact, some pretty rough experiences. But by me reading the book, and you gave a detailed background on your early life,
Right.
and that detailed background sort of gives the reader a better understanding as how you handle your later life
True.
from the experiences that you got from your earlier life.
Right.
And there are some serious details in the book about the early life. If you don't mind saying, I'm from the South. I live in Northwest Indiana now. I live right outside of Gary, Indiana.
Uh-huh.
And I'm from the South, a small town in Tennessee.
Okay.
So I can relate to some of the things that you write in the book about the food, the eating, about some of the things.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, you went into some deep experiences, some deep personal experiences
True.
in the book that you talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I can relate, and it was sort of funny. Just last night, my son was here. I have two grown sons, and they were just discussing when they visited South Carolina years ago.
Yes.
And you made a comment in the book. You made a comment in the book about how you were taught when you were smaller, younger. You don't look grown people in the eyes, and you don't. Sometimes you look down if there's particulars. And we were laughing about that. And then I thought about that because you had that in your book.
Mm-hmm.
And you had that in the book, but there was a reason for that. There were reasons that adults kept young people out of grown people's business.
True.
But so it was a lot of that was interesting in getting the background, and then it really got interesting as to your relationships as time went on in your life.
It did.
So
It did.
these are some of the things that just stood out. The book was well written. I saw a couple of typos, but I can ignore that. But I'm not sure. You might have written it that way. But it was a well-written book. It was a good time. I've been reading during this pandemic.
Yes.
Haven't had a lot to do. And then now I get your book, Men in My Bed. True Love is Hard to Find. I think you call it a relationship chronicle. Am I correct?
You're right.
And I was thinking about writing memoirs, a book myself, because I retired a couple of years ago. And I should have written the book already. And I keep putting it off. There were two things I was going to do: take guitar lessons and read and write a book, and write my memoirs. And I thought about that. That was motivating to me when I read your book on Relationship Chronicles.
Yes.
And I don't know if you missed anything. But you sure gave some detail. And the book is red hot.
It's red hot, huh?
It's red hot. I wouldn't recommend this to underage children. I wouldn't recommend. This is a grown folks book.
All right. So
this is a grown folks book, and but this is a good entertainment. It's more than entertainment, really, because there's some learning experiences from that, and you can see there's some psychological experiences also in this book.
I agree. So what was your best part? What was your best part of the book?
Well, my best part, I like the introduction. Number one, I love the introduction because it just sort of fascinates me when I go back and just as I said, we were visiting last night and just going back to some fascinating things in life and what fascinates us now, the food, the entertainment, how you grew up, how grandma and great-grandparents all have to raise you, how the village raised the person, some of the bad, some of the good that took place in it, and so forth. That fascinated me. So that motivated me to want to read more in the book. So I read the book, and then you get into detail of your relationships. And it was fascinating. And then I would compare one relationship with the other relationship. When you're talking about the men that you know and so forth, and the relationship and how the relationship evolved and how it panned out. Did it work out the way you wanted it to work out? Did it not work out? It becomes really fascinating. And then you want to see, after you read that chapter, then you want to get to the next chapter. You want to see what is detailing in the next chapter, or is there another relationship, or what happened in that relationship? What were the end results of the relationship?
Okay.
So the entire book...
Mr. Harding, let me hold on right there. We got to take a break, so can you hold for me right there, please? Thank you.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
Today's world exposes our youth to life experiences that are well beyond that which their years should allow. Violence, trauma, poverty, injustice. Our children's lives and their livelihoods are in constant danger. Wisdom, Inc. is a community-based organization designed to save young lives by reducing violence and assisting youth in their personal development. Wisdom stands for wise individuals structuring and developing youthful minds. Through our collective wisdom, we can change lives for the better. Wisdom, Inc. Reducing violence, developing youth, saving lives.
Welcome to Burke's Jewelry. How may I help you?
We're looking for engagement rings.
We offer a wide selection. However, I believe we have just what you're looking for. Burke's Jeweler is your family's jeweler at 491 Flat Shoals Avenue Southeast, Atlanta, Georgia 30316 in East Atlanta Village.
Welcome back to Bedroom Chronicles, and today we are talking with Mr. Clausell Harding about my book, Men in My Bed, True Love is Hard to Find, Bedroom Chronicles, and he has read the entire book, and he's given me his critique of how the book made him feel and the experience that he got from reading the book. So, Mr. Clausell, you can finish telling me about your perception of the book, and please tell me about what you thought about the relationships.
Okay. Now, after leaving the background, we went to the relationships. You looked at how the relationship evolved, and you wanted to know it gets you really excited about how the relationship is going, how it would go, and so forth, how it would continue or would end or whatever.
Right.
And you go through that, and then it will motivate you to get to the next chapter to see what's going on. Fortunately or unfortunately, there were situations where you just went to a different relationship. And then you compare when you say men in my bed, you compare the men in your life.
Right.
Compare the men in your life and how that relationship evolved and how it panned out, how it went through, and so forth. So the book, and it's more than one, more than two, more than three. But anyway, the book the chapters kept you excited as to what's going to happen next. I'm sitting here in this pandemic anyway, so I said, well, I need a good book to read. So it's a very entertaining book. You got to know the author as a person. You sort of relate yourself to some of the situations. Some people live a dull life. Some live an exciting life. This seems to be very exciting to me. Very exciting to me. It was like a ritual, like a ceremony. Like a ceremony, like a ritual. And I'm talking about not only the entire relationship that included the conversation, that included the food, that included the just the company, the company that you kept, and so forth. It included the environment. I still have that Southern background in me, even though I live in the northern part of the country. I have that Southern background in me. And you talk about South Carolina. You talk about is that an Army base? Is that a base in South Carolina?
No, it's a It's a Marine Corps base.
A Marine Corps base. A Marine Corps base.
Right.
And in fact, I visited that area. I went to Savannah. I like Savannah. And I crossed over to South Carolina, and I knew I was near where you grew up. I had to have been not too far from where you grew up.
Okay.
Maybe about 30 or 40 miles, probably. And it was fascinating to me because I get excited over a little history, a little different areas, and that good down home growing up and so forth. And the base, I think the author lives in Atlanta now. Lives in Atlanta,
right?
And you kind of combine. I compare the relationships in one chapter to another chapter, and to see which one would grow and see which one would end up best and so forth. But and then I had to compare it all the way back to how the author grew up, how the author grew up, and some of the situations that took place when you grew up, and how how things evolved as the author became a grown up. And then I also I was fascinated over the fact that I think the profession is nursing. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's one of them.
In the healthcare field.
Yeah,
one of them.
Yeah, all of it is healthcare. Okay.
Yeah, but so I might be able to say one situation was more intriguing than the other situation, but all situations were intriguing. And number one, the author is an intriguing person, and it fascinated me because I'm the kind of person that I like to. Growing up, I like to see the sun shining through the windows and so forth. I was motivated. I've always been motivated to get out there, and get up, and do something, And so the book is it's hot. It's hot.
Ooh, yeah.
Good. It's motivating, and it's I have a good term for it. It's high energy.
Oh, okay.
High energy.
Yeah, I like that.
So that's my take from the book. And in fact, when it sort of ends, it starts giving a little background, then it goes into high energy, and it stays high energy, and it ends with energy.
Right.
It ends with energy. And then the author also explains, sort of gives a background of herself. And in fact, there's one part. Did you participate in comedy? Did you do something in comedy?
I do. Well, I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It just gives you a good a good all around feeling, a good positive feeling when you read the book. And I would tell anyone else, if they get the book, read the book, and you find it very, very entertaining, and you find it motivating, and you find it grown-up style, grown folk style. It's grown folk style, and it's pretty cool.
Okay.
Pretty cool.
So,
and you can ask me any questions. If I can answer, because I might have probably missed something.
So out of the relationships, which one did you find the most intriguing?
But there was one relationship, I forgot the name. I'm not going to name the name, but there's one that was more mature and seemed the one was more in control and motivating.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the one was, I had a book in front of me, but I've forgotten the name.
Mm-hmm.
I've forgotten the name. But there was one relationship where this particular person had more control than I think anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
I think you like the person more than anyone else.
So does Doc sound?
I'm not sure.
Does Doc sound familiar?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Doc sounds familiar. The Doc was he came in there many times. he was in the picture most of the time.
Yeah.
I won't say all of the time, but most of the time Doc was in the picture.
Mm-hmm.
Doc was in the picture.
Okay.
And I sort of got tickled. I was wondering if I guess did some of the men read the book?
I don't know. I did ask, but I don't know if I doubt that they have.
You doubt that they have.
I doubt that they have.
But I'd like to ask you a question.
Yes.
Did the author feel like she was more in control or more just an equal part of it, of the relationship?
You said more in control or what?
Of the relationships, or an equal part of the relationships?
Well.
Or a lesser part of relationships?
And I think the author could fit all three of those at different times in the different relationships. So.
Well, okay.
So with Doc, I think she was a little bit more in control.
No, I picked it up.
Yeah.
I picked that up, and there's always somebody in your life that that's gonna have an edge over everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter how you put it, there's always, and then that person has that edge. You sort of, for some reason, you like that person more.
Yeah.
It's something that person's more attractive, more attractive to you. And you learn that. Well, we know that early in life, but people learn that in life, and that's just the way it is. And so is that. So I'd like to ask you a question. You've been asking me questions. Is that what?
Go ahead.
I guess with a combination of all of it motivated you to write the book.
It did. It did, because I've been writing the book for a number of years, and I just sit it down. But after I met Doc, I just decided that he was like my muse, because I just picked it up because the feelings were just so good coming when I was spent time with him. So I just wrote it down. Then if I asked him to do the same thing, we just share our feelings together. So it was really nice doing that. And then I just decided, well, I can go back in a few years and pull some other relationships into it as well, and I did. And then I just when Doc was out of my life, then I decided, well, I'll just keep it moving till I get 222 pages.
And that's another thing. I think the book is well written.
Mm-hmm.
Well written. It's entertaining. It's not too long, and it's not too short.
Right.
Did you say it's 222 pages?
Basically, yes.
Good reading, and I just couldn't. It got to a point where I couldn't put the book down.
Oh.
They gave me something to do. 2 or 3 hours a day, I'd read the book sometimes, and then I'd put it down, and then I'd pick it back up, and until I finished the book.
Okay.
It was a good book, so it wasn't anything like I had to do. It was something I wanted to do, and something I was motivated. I was motivated to read the book. Then I'd go back to certain segments, certain pages of the book, and pick up some interesting things that were in the book, and I compared it. I compared the men in my bed to the other man in my bed. And so I suggest that you know, everybody go and grab that book, get that book, and read it.
Okay. So I heard you said that you're retired. What's your work background?
Education. I was in education, a teacher for 9 years, and the rest of my career I was a secondary school administrator.
Okay.
I was a high school principal.
Wow. So a high school principal.
I was a high school principal.
Wow.
And then I worked, and then until my later years, I worked, I even did some adult education programs.
Okay.
But most of my career, I was secondary school administrator.
All right.
Whether it was middle school or high school.
Okay.
So I did middle school and high school.
All right.
So most of my reading over those years, because I worked many years. I'm not going to say how many years I worked, but I've worked many years, and most of my reading over the years were related to education.
Okay.
Leadership books in education and so forth. So then once I get a break and I'm retired, I get a chance to read some more entertainment books.
Right.
I read some other books that were entertaining and so forth. But this was right on time. This was right on time. And I feel like I'm qualified to even critique a book because of my experiences in education over all those years.
Well, I
came out of Tennessee State University.
Okay.
And came. I was born in Tennessee, and then came to Gary. I was born in a little town where Alex Haley wrote Roots.
Okay.
Speaking of right, I was born in Hennon, Tennessee, where Alex Haley is from Roots.
Wow.
And I went to Lauderdale High in Ripley, Tennessee, and that's where Tina Turner went for a year and a half.
Okay. Wow.
So I've been, I'm well traveled. I've traveled around the world. I've gotten a chance to, been fortunate enough to travel to countries around the world. In fact, speaking of Tina Turner, I visited her home. I didn't see her at that particular time, but I was in Italy. I was in Switzerland, Kusenau, Switzerland, 3 years ago.
Wow.
So I've done some traveling and so forth, and now I'm getting a chance to read and be entertained.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for coming on the show and giving me your perception of the book, and that you're an educator that gives it I think I should get an A. So we're going to go to a break right now. We'll be right back.
I would agree with you. We can end it now.
Are you an artist, a writer of spoken word? Do you have content ready but need exposure? Get to know me. I'm Alicia, host of a new Facebook live stream show called The Flavor, where we promote local and international talent of all genres. Here are some rules and regulations to the videos that we'll be accepting. They must be radio ready, no cursing, no lewd language. You must send us contact information as well as a YouTube link to your video so we can extract it from there. Email us at 1061tv@gmail.com, and we thank you for your time.
Hi, I'm Michael Cowell, your funniest man on the planet, and you're watching TV 1061, your global network. Stay tuned, because that's how they do it over here. Big time party! All right, see y'all later.
Hi, I'm Harry Lennox, and you're watching TV 1061, your global network. Hi, I'm Harry Lennox.
Welcome to Burke's Jewelry. How may I help you?
We're looking for engagement rings.
We offer a wide selection. However, I believe we have just what you're looking for. Burke's Jeweler is your family's jeweler at 491 Flat Shoals Avenue Southeast, Atlanta, Georgia 30316 in East Atlanta Village.
TV 1061, conceptualizing your ideas across the world and beyond.
Hey, I'm not in right now. Sorry. Leave me a message.
I just wanna love you. Meet me at the hotel room, or you can come over. So many things I wanna do to your body, driving me crazy. I just wanna love you. Meet me at the hotel room, or you can come over. So many things I wanna do to your body.
Okay, welcome back to Bedroom Chronicles, and I'm Mercury Rising, your host. And that was a very interesting guest I just had, Mr. Clausel Harding, and I think he gave my book an A and recommend that you go out and buy it. The name of the book is Men in My Bed, True Love is Hard to Find, Bedroom Chronicles. So he gave a perfect critique of what's in the book from my childhood up into adulthood, from my traumatic experience as between 5 and 12, with dealing of a child that age in between those years, dealing with incest and rape, and growing up and having the adult experience of bad relationships, good relationships, bad choices, but her choices. It's pretty interesting. The relationship part of the book is based on several different men over a number of years. Yes, over a number of years that were in and out of the author's life, my life. There was one relationship in the early years that basically was the blueprint for how she expected other relationships to be or measure up. And basically a lot of them didn't get there. When Sasha was in her 20s, she met this young man named Joe. And Joe was in the military, pretty decent rank, but she thought Joe had it going on. He spent a number of years, like 8 years in Japan. Then he came back, he brought his car back from Japan, the steering wheel on the opposite side. He was well-dressed, well-versed. He loved family. He only had one child, but he loved family, the idea of family. So he liked being in a relationship, but he liked having outside females as well. But he always had that one main woman, and he stayed pretty close to her. I remember his dad telling him that, man, you always got pussy in a jar. I didn't understand what that meant years later, but yeah, he did do that. Joe was for him to be in like 25, 26, he was very mature, except for when it came to the women. He was responsible. He was the type of man that did the things that any young woman would want him to do. He just took care of you without you asking to be taken care of. He just knew what to say and what to do. And the relationship with Joe may have lasted for like 9 years until he decided that he was gonna get out of the military and move back to New York, and things didn't work out too good after then. And that's when Sasha made her way to Atlanta after that relationship was over with. And it was a couple of, she left New York, didn't tell him, went to Florida, he followed. Then she went back to South Carolina, And then she ends up in Atlanta, but she just told him, no, I can't deal with you no more. That was it. Because he did some things that was the last straw. Even though he was the person that later on in her life, was the person that she got the blueprint from, to say, okay, let's see if this man is going to do this. But for a long time, she didn't want anything to do with an American man. She just went straight foreign. When she got to Atlanta, it was straight foreign. You had to have your own shit. You had to have it. So she wasn't dealing with, basically this is what she said, if you didn't have your own stuff in order, you didn't have your briefcase, you didn't have your business or your high paying job, she wasn't giving you the time of the day. And she met men from Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, and all over, because Atlanta is a melting pot. So probably for like 5 to 10 years, there wasn't an American man in her life. It was a foreign one, until the point came where she did marry one of the foreign men, but divorced. Because all men, I guess you can say, or all men from anywhere, they just love a big pot of women. So she decided when she had enough, then the American men just started to come back around. So after Joe and the couple of Nigerians in there, and the ex-husband Nigerian, well, he's Benin, it was time for a break. So this is time where she works on herself. Instead of going and getting into or starting another relationship, she decided to work herself. She started going to college. And college became a regular routine, but she liked to do it in steps. She did an associate degree, did a BS degree, then she did a master's degree and worked on a PhD, and go back and get another master's degree, and comedy classes, voiceover. All of those are positive things that she can use later in her life, instead of reverting back to dating different men. So, and I would call that in between her time of healing, she was working on herself. Over those years of working with herself, yeah, Sasha met some interesting men, but they didn't have the, I guess the quality that she was looking for at the time, because it's just some men are just serial cheaters. I'm not man bashing, but it's women know and men know, so I can say serial cheaters. And for instance, in the book is this man named, I'll say LB. LB was in the military. He was maybe 5 or 6 years older, and she met him on a visit to her grandmother in Beaufort, and he was like the splitting image of Denzel Washington. The hair, the complexion, the body, but his body probably was a little bit more chiseled. But anyway, he was a master gunnery sergeant, and he happened to just live in Atlanta, well, Decatur as well. And for months, she would go back and forth, like 6 months exactly. He would come to Atlanta, she would go to South Carolina. And it took 6 months for him to tell her that he was married. But after 6 months, she's already hooked. And besides, one interesting thing about Larry is that short period of time that she knew him, and it's sad to say that at 35 you're experiencing your first orgasm after you have already had 3 kids. But it's all in the book. And how do a woman get to not experience an orgasm until she's 35? I don't know, but we can put it on childhood experience. So that could be the psychological twist right there. You could have, because there could be some issues with not relaxing enough. So he was the person that happened to help her with that. So yeah, she was very much into Larry, and when she didn't. And I'm saying she was very much into him because she didn't cut it off after he told her that he was married. But when her best friend interject herself into the relationship, and then she ended up sleeping with him. It's in the book, and with more details. I think you should go buy it. That's when she ended it. And she ended it with him and with the friend. And she called his wife and told him. And called her boyfriend and told him. But it's all in the book. So I think it was and it continues to be an interesting journey. The book have a lot of twists and turns when it comes to the relationships. It tells you a lot about her as an adult in her later years that you can see or read that has changed from the time she was in her 30s. So things that she had patience for in her later years, she didn't have that patience when she was in her 20 and 30s. Because basically she would just tell the man to kick dirt. But now it's like she's going to sit back and analyze and give second and third chances. But she does have some boundaries, she do. And she does know her worth. But at this point in her life, she tries to work a little with whoever she's in a relationship with, because we all have things that we need to work through. You may not have gotten through that last relationship, and you might just need somebody to help you get over the hump of getting over that person. And basically it's healing. Or you might need somebody to just sit down and talk to you. Or during the time I'm getting to know somebody, they're getting over it, but we're not being intimate together. Because then if we're not being intimate together in the beginning, while that person is getting over somebody, then I think that's kind of builds on the type of relationship that we can have later. Which means that, well, I was with you when you was going through this pain. I didn't try to get with you intimately, and I didn't allow you to get with me intimately because I know you needed to process whatever it was that you was going through. So now you've gotten past that, I'm past my issues, then we can work on building something together where our foundation would be strong. But things still do happen. Even though when you think that foundation is strong, things still do happen. Things still go wrong. Because you may think that you all are good, but he is definitely thinking something else. And as the author of the book, I can say that nowadays, I was probably from the 90s to the 2000, I've been paying attention to that men want the same thing that women want. It's not like it used to be, I'll say back in my mom time or my great-grandmom time. It's different. Some men want women that's right here with them. Or 50-50, or like Tyler Perry say 80-20, but we just need to work on how and communicate how we want our relationships from the beginning. So we're gonna go to a break. Be right back. And I'm just...
Hi, I'm Chief Gary Sparks with the Douglasville Police Department. Today we want to give you some safety tips concerning traffic stops. Take a look.
So you look in your rear view mirror and see flashing blue lights. What do? Remain calm. Yield to the right and pull your vehicle over into an off-road area that is safe for both you and the officer. Put your car in park. Remove your foot from the brake and turn the radio off. Remain in your vehicle. Have your driver's license readily available for the officer. Keep your hands on the steering wheel, visible for the officer at all times. If you need to retrieve any items from the interior, explain what you're reaching for to the officer and avoid any sudden movements. Rolling the window down completely establishes a level of trust with the officer and allows for ease of interaction during the routine traffic stop. Be courteous and polite. Be cooperative and willing to follow the officer's instructions. During a routine traffic stop, the officer will return to his vehicle to run the tag and driver's license verification and complete a citation if one is necessary. Once the officer returns and approaches your vehicle, whether or not a citation or warning is issued, please remain calm, courteous, and cooperative. Sign the citation acknowledging you agree to appear in court, and do not dispute the citation with the officer. The officer will give you a court date to explain or defend your infraction.
Okay, ma'am. Like I told you, I did clock you at 51 in a 35 mile per hour speed zone. I did issue a citation, okay? This here is going to be your court date. I just need a signature from you stating that you received a copy of this citation, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Here's your driver license.
Thank you.
Along with a copy of the citation, okay? You have any questions or concerns for me?
No, sir.
Okay, well, you have a nice day, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Following these few simple steps will help ensure a safe interaction for both you and the officer.
I hope these few tips help you as it relates to dealing with law enforcement and traffic stops. Not only in traffic stops, but in all encounters with law enforcement. We hope that all our encounters are safe for the citizens as well as for our officers. Again, we want you to be safe, and if you have any problems with the Douglasville Police Department, don't hesitate to give us a call and make your concerns known. I would add that Georgia is a right to carry state, and we hope that if you are carrying, that on these traffic stops and all encounters, please let the officer know that you are carrying. This will ensure your safety and our officers' safety. Thank you, may God bless you, and may God keep our community safe. We are one.
Hey, I'm not in right now. Sorry, leave me a message.
I just wanna love you. Meet me at the hotel room, or you can come over. So many things I wanna do to your body, driving me crazy. I just wanna love you. Meet me at the hotel room, or you can come over. So many things I wanna do to your body.
Okay, welcome back to Bedroom Chronicles, and I'm your host, Mercury Risings. I have a guest, and the guest, her name is Nichelle Scott, and she has read the book in its entirety, and she's going to give me her perception of the book and plus ask me a couple of questions. So Nichelle, you can go ahead and tell me about what you got from the book.
Well, in the beginning of the book, it was kind of sad because you talk about how you grew up, and I know a lot of people, they face the same thing every day, so I was bothered by that, but it was a good background, and how you grew up and how you become a very strong person from dealing with those kind of problems or issues. And when you got to the relationship, I laughed. I wanted to beat up some people, but I was concerned about how you felt about the first relationship with the guy Joe after y'all broke up. How long did it take you to get over that relationship?
You asking me that question?
Yes.
Well, to get over that relationship, it took me about 5 years. Now, we were together for about 9 years.
Right.
And our relationship was basically, I moved in with Joe, but I kept my own apartment because that's how my mom taught me. You move in with a man, you keep your own shit. So then, because you're not married and people act up, So I did keep my own apartment, but Joe was, I don't know, he was just, I guess for a minute he was my everything. And, you know, he would bake cookies with the kids and have cookouts on the weekends with his friends and cook breakfast on Saturdays. And we just ate breakfast and we stayed in the bed all day on Saturday. We don't do nothing but just stay in the bed, make love, and that was it all day. We had one meal. We came up with this thing where we called Truth or Consequences, where I don't care what it was. If I thought he was doing something, or he thought I was doing something, or it was just something that happened to me, because I told him about the incest doing Truth or Consequences, and he actually wanted to kill the person that did that to me, to Sasha.
Right.
So yeah. So
at the same, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So at the same time, with the different relationships, do you believe that you will ever find love again, or do you be able to trust anybody?
Well, you know what, girl? I'm glad you asked me that, because trust is a big thing for me. Man, I used to be, I come into a relationship with, I trust you until you give me a reason not to trust you. But, and that was in, I would say up until my early 40s, I was like that. But nowadays, it's like, I'm always analyzing. I always have questions in the back of my mind about what's going on with that person. Is that person being honest? Am I paying attention to the red flags? Or should I just go ahead and not pay attention to the red flag and just believe the person for what they say until something pop up that's other than what it is? So yeah, I do have some deep trust issues, but I try to work with the person, and I try to work on myself when it comes to that as well, because I'm going to ask questions, and I want you to explain, but I'm not going to hound you or pest you in a way that you think that to make you think that I don't really trust you. I'm not going to do that. Yeah. So, because I'll be silent for a long period of time before I say something, or before I bring it to that person's attention that I have some questions about something that you did, or something that you said, or something that I saw. So.
Right.
But during the meantime, I'm dealing with it silently because it bothers me. But it might take me months before I say something about it.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you deal with the stress behind?
The stress behind it? You know,
yeah.
I do positive things to work on myself. Right. Yeah. So at this time in my life, it's going to the gym. Oh, taking some extra naps. I used to love to take naps, but I'm getting back into taking naps. Because I used to come home from work, first thing I do, I go straight to sleep. And I haven't done that in years, but I recently started back doing that. And I used to ride my bike a lot, which now in Georgia, I don't ride my bike, but I can go to the gym and walk. I can go to the gym and get in the sauna. So I do things, and I find more quiet time. Even if it's just sitting in my car in my driveway for an hour or two before I go in the house. So.
Yeah, because a lot of things in your book that you talked about, a lot of females probably went through it or probably don't know how to handle it. So that's why I was asking.
Yeah.
How would you deal with it? Yeah. Or what would be your advice towards it?
Well, you know, my advice would be never to do anything negative, never to do anything that's going to get you in jail or you get in any way to get you a record. Try to do something that's positive. Be the bigger person and walk away. That's it. Just walk away.
That's true.
Don't damage nobody's property. Don't break no windows. Don't cut no tires. Don't do none of that. And I think the biggest thing that you can do is just silently walk away, because that person made a choice of what they wanted to do. And if they didn't want you, then that means that if they did it and you caught them, or they did it and they told you, that means that they didn't want you. So.
Right, that's true.
Wow.
Well, my last question for you, do you plan to write another book?
Yes, I already started on it. So it starts off with the last relationship in this book, Men in My Bed. So I've gotten probably like 30 pages from the last relationship, and I have some thoughts I'm building on for a second one. I can't say it's a relationship. It's something ship. But yeah. So you know, I like the feeling of love. I like the feeling of being in love. So I'm sure I'll always be in a relationship.
Right.
Yeah. So,
I enjoyed your book.
Well, thank you. What was the best part of the book for you?
The best part. The best part of it was, I think it was Jim.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I had some laughs in that one, but the thing was, I got the book. The first day I got the book, I started reading. I couldn't put it down. I think I finished the book in like 3 or 4 days.
Wow.
So it was very exciting to me. It kept my eye open. Like sometimes I'll read a book and I'll get tired or not focus on it, but that was an eye opener right there.
Wow. Well, thank you for buying the book. Thank you for being a guest on my show, and I'll make sure to let you know when I'm finished with the second book.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
I appreciate you having me on the show.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. So, you heard it from Nichelle Laverna, how much she enjoyed Men in My Bed, that she couldn't put it down, and she actually read it in 3 days. And the #1 character in the book that most people have given me compliments about is Dot, but she actually liked Jimmy better. So Jimmy was the last relationship that Sasha endured that ended, but things do happen for a reason. So, Men in My Bed, True Love is Hard to Find, Bedroom Chronicles. You can find it on Amazon or anywhere that you buy a book. If you have any questions about the book or about the show, you can you can post a question on Facebook or YouTube under Bedroom Chronicles on TV 1061. So, again, Men in My Bed, True Love is Hard to Find, Bedroom Chronicles. In the store. Please purchase. Thank you very much.
Hey, I'm not in right now. Sorry. Leave me a message.
I just wanna love you. Meet me at the hotel room, or you can come over. So many things I wanna do to your body, driving me crazy. I just wanna love you. Meet me at the hotel room, or you can come over. So many things I wanna do to your body.
TV 1061, conceptualizing your ideas across the world and beyond.